Okay, thank you for coming. I'm glad to see so many faces. There were other tracks related to security testing, and I thought that not much people will come because they will get lots of information and not much may be needed, but I will try to impress you with some other stuff. So a few words about me. So yeah, as you have heard in the this video, introduction video, I have been in testing since 2004, and I have seen how this industry changed, how the whole attitude to testing changed from just regular ad hoc approaches to really thorough continuous testing within DevOps and different tools changing. Currently, I'm a test manager in Danish company ScalePoint. I'm from Ukraine, but nowadays I live in Denmark. And yeah, I love snowboarding. So why security? When you start asking people in a big company, and especially if these are business people, they will be like, yeah, but why is it important? I mean, like, why should we build software in a secure way? Why should we focus our efforts on all these things? And finding the right explanation to these people, especially non-technical people, can be a challenge to people who are from the technical domain, because they will be speaking in technical language and there might be some misunderstanding between. So the main purpose of the whole security testing, why is it getting more popular, is increasing amount of breaches. Nowadays, if you follow different Twitter accounts of security professionals or you read blog posts, once in a while you see that this company was breached, another company was breached, and it doesn't matter about the size of the company. Facebook can be breached, same as LinkedIn, and you can read about very small, tiny web shop selling electronic cigarettes, for example, which was also breached. So this pops up no matter how big efforts are of these companies to protect themselves against security. But still, it has to be done. Also, another reason for these breaches is there are numerous tools out in the wild, and very dangerous tools, by the way. Some of them can let you do all automatic attacks against applications once the vulnerability is detected. And one of these tools is, for example, SQL map. If you ever tried this tool, it's very straightforward. It has simple UI, it's a desktop application, but it bombards the web application with different specially crafted SQL injection requests. And what do you get in return? The full structure of the database. All, including data, including all these dependencies and etc. So these tools are quite dangerous, and they are just in the wild. You can go get it and download, no problem. And also, I think that security, if we speak about ourselves, is a great area for personal development. So imagine you are just in, let's say, manual tester position, and you're not very much interested in going into automation. And management doesn't look very much interested in writing all these plans, participating in endless meetings, but you're still a technical person. What can be a solution here? Performance testing, security testing, well, maybe usability. I'm not sure about this, how wide is this area, because mostly relates to UX specialists. But anyways, and of course, GDPR. As we all now know about this new rule in Europe, the stakes for GDPR are quite huge. It means that if previously the company had data breach, they would pay just fine for that. And the fines, in terms of at least the corporate business, were not so high. But in terms of nowadays, it would be a percentage of the turnover of the company. So basically, it can take the company down. And what is the company's value more than money? Do you know? Reputation. It's very hard to gain reputation if it was earned and then lost. Regaining a reputation is just impossible. So if paying some money may be more or less doable effort for the company, paying with reputation is impossible. On the source called informationisbeautiful.net, there are different visualizations, and one of these represents how many breaches happened since 2016 until latest. And you can see the density of these breaches is increasing. So unfortunately, this is a screenshot, but if you scroll down, I think it's from 2009, the breaches were not so often. And nowadays, they're just increasing all the time. Right? So you decide to do testing, security testing in your team, but you need to decide where to start. Like, I have been a functional tester, right? But oh, look, there is an industry here. So someone says, we need security testing, and let's do it. And everyone like, yeah, let's do it. But then, yeah, but what's the next step? Yesterday, Louisa was making a presentation on test automation, and they had kind of similar situation with test automation, when the manager said, like, we need test automation, and test engineers said, no problem, we will do it. But none of them knew what and how to do it, what is the end goal, and that was kind of a challenge, resulted in some challenges along the way. Same with security. You need to know what you want to do next, and you need to find a source of this information. Someone can say, but maybe we can delegate it to professionals. Nowadays, there are lots of consultancy companies that have expertise in this area and then can do it for you. And it can be different types of security testing, including web UI or some network scanning or other types of attacks. The problem resides basically in two main areas. First is price. These services are really expensive, so not many companies can allow themselves. Of course, such companies like banking, areas like banking, general finance institutions, or government or military, they have nice budgets. But if it's a smaller companies, they cannot afford it. And if they do, the typical situation with consultants is that they work once a year. In a very trivial example, it means that for one day, you are completely secure. You've got a report, you know about vulnerabilities, maybe they even fixed. But for the remaining 364 days, you are vulnerable because the product evolves and it's not static. So if you are secure now, it doesn't mean that you will be secure tomorrow or the day after or whatever. So it has to be a constant effort. Also, people think like, okay, how do we get time for it? We cannot take out our development teams because they're already working on some functionality, right? So should we tell them now stop working on the functionality, focus on the security testing? Also, no go. So how to do this? And as usual, the dream for most of the employers is, can we delegate this to automation, to robots? Because, hey, they are free. Well, they also come at a price. So when you start this security initiative, what is the driver for all these things? Based on this driver, you may react accordingly. So the most common thing is a management decision. Some cool guy, it can be your Scrum Master, product owner, CIO, CTO, whatever person is responsible for security or for big decisions, comes and says, we need security. And actually, this is a kind of nice option because it goes from bottom down. It means that all people will be doing this task because they know that CEO or CTO said we should do so. But the problem is that then you have to build this chain and who does what. So because CTOs can be different and some of them are experts in technical questions, some are not. So the first thing is management decision. Next is need-driven. When there was actual breach and the company doesn't want it to be happening again, or they detect that someone is trying to breach. So in order not to find themselves like this dog in all fires, and when it's too late and we need security testing, yeah, I think you need to escape. So the need-driven. So what is the situation that you decide this so? Quite often, it's a personal initiative of some person inside company. So it can be a manager, it can be a regular engineer, it doesn't matter. But the thing is that it will be his personal initiative. It's a cool thing, and this is kind of a bottoms up, right? The decision. You try to make this idea to the top, like, yay, let's build security. I'm a QA and I have got some knowledge in this area. You need to try to engage the people. And that's kind of a hard way. You need to be a really charismatic person with strong communication skills, willing to go only forward. There is no way back. And of course, it's a career opportunity. So, for example, as I mentioned, you can be interested in new domain, you get some knowledge, and then you find a job where people are looking for security experts, or let's say professionals. You're not an expert yet. But yeah, you go there and you start a new path and you find a new job, maybe with a better salary or better conditions or whatever. So what is the situation further on? How do you organize the process of these security testing efforts? This warrior that you see on the screen, this is Japanese soldier known as Kensei. Kensei means the master of sword. In the ancient Japan, there were these warriors which were extremely skilled. They were almost godlike in fighting. And one warrior could stand in a fight against multiple other less skilled warriors for a long time. The same can happen for this company which has the security professional. It will be one person extremely skilled in penetration testing or general security initiatives who has multiple certificates, and he's just a nice guy or a girl, and he is responsible for all this stuff. It's one way to go, but there might be challenges on this path. We will talk about them in a while. Another way to organize the security testing process is, of course, teamwork. Since all of us, I guess, or most of us work in the agile world, we know that the best responsibility, the best way to handle something is to distribute responsibility within team and then have team focus on this problem and solve it together. So, of course, you will gain more stuff if you approach security as a team. And the third thing, how you can organize, well, it's kind of the same as top-down. It's a corporate goal. So someone decides that security is very important for this company, and they establish some department focusing on security testing. They hire lots of professionals, and yeah, it might be already roll as a snow cone. So the point here is that, yeah, just want to note that in general, the most successful companies who build the security inside their development, so like banking normally, they have independent team which focuses on security. They do not do features, they do not do some cool stuff, and they do not sell the product. They focus only on the security. And hence, if we take the companies where there is an agile team focusing only on business features, it's very hard for them to pick up all these initiatives from security testing, because at least sprints might be different, and the ways to engage might be different. So let's have a look where you do put your focus on when you start doing security testing in your team or company or whatever. Nowadays, it's very common to use already existing frameworks. Node.js, React, like these technologies frameworks, .NET, right? All these things are built with security intention in the beginning, and they evolve over time. New vulnerabilities are being detected, then they release some patch, and then it's fixed. Then some other stuff appears there, then they kind of upgrade it. So the components and frameworks that are used in web applications, and of course mobile, and I'm not so expert in desktop security, but the thing is that it's very important to keep them up to date, because whenever vulnerability appears, probably the company who is interested in that product being evolved further on will release the fix. And here is a catch with open source components. Sometimes people think like, hey, let's take an open source because it's free and it's double win, right? Yes, but is this open source component being actively supported by the developers? It might be not. Sometimes you discover the component which was last updated like 3-4 years ago, and hackers or crackers had all these 4 years trying to find the vulnerability there. One of the examples I like is the WordPress, this application which you can build, which you can use to build sites very instantly. WordPress had lots of vulnerabilities in the past, and not many companies who have shops on WordPress have upgraded these versions. So what the hackers do, they do not try to hack find a way to hack WordPress. What they want to find is the vulnerable version. So they do scanning of the net. They find the WordPress of this, let's say, version 9, and they already know what they should do in order to hack it, because the instructions are in the internet. So they do not have to be experts there. They just follow the script. These people are all known as script kiddies. Skitties. So yeah, having things upgraded is very important. Then you can also focus on automation tools. There are lots of them. Some of them are for dynamic application testing, so you have to execute. Some of them can analyze code. So some part of security can be delegated actually to robots, but there will be some problems with the amount of false positives and false negatives. If the tool says everything is fine, it doesn't mean so. If this tool throws you 1,000 of alerts, we are doomed, we're gonna die. No, it might be not. It's just a matter of configuration, what to pay attention to. And yeah, of course, you can focus on the professional consultants. You can you can, of course, delegate this task to someone else. It doesn't have to be a huge effort. You can provide some parts of the testing that you think is needed, ask the consultants to do. But again, who will manage these things? If you just tell them, and you do security, you cannot assess if they did it in the way that you expected or not. So, another thing to understand in this situation, when do you act? Okay, you got some info. Yeah, we want to build security testing, we want to do penetration testing. And yeah, but when? When do you do this? In the beginning of the sprint and the end, you don't know. So I see it in the 4 kind of places when you can do. In general, security is a non-functional testing. How many of you do non-functional testing of the products? I mean, other different types of non-functional, performance, UX, UI, whatever. Okay, around 50%, cool. The sad truth is that whenever I talk to testers, I quite often hear that they do not have time to perform proper non-functional testing because they're always in the chase of putting the features to production faster. And normally these are business features. These are not technical features, not technical issues resolved from when I picked from the technical backlog, for example. So security can be a step when you do the non-functional testing. Just add a few steps which you want to follow when you validate the feature. We will have a look on where to pick, how to build these steps. Another thing which requires kind of being an already professional in this area, well, have some experience, let's say it like this, is design review and code review. So, of course, as we know, the more left we shift, the cheaper will be the fix, right? It's a common thing for quality assurance. So, the requirements can be assessed from the security point of view for different potential vulnerabilities in the design. Well, vulnerabilities it will be later, like flaws in the design. Or the code. While developers write the code, they already can get some information about the code quality. We will have a look at this also in a moment. Alternatively, you can do the dynamic testing. So you have the release, you deploy it to your environment, and then you do some penetration testing. Of course, it depends on the release schedule. If you're releasing every week or every day, it probably no-go. But in the schedule where you release once a month or sometimes once a quarter, then it might be a situation. You reserve this time in your test plan if you are organizing the process or you know a person, you know a guy who deals with the process. So you can put the penetration testing as a phase. It can be a smaller one. It doesn't need to be a 2-week sprint or whatever. It can be 1 day, 2 days. Just know what you want to do there. And the 4th thing that I like, and actually we also use it, well, we started using it not so long ago, placing security into definition of done. Does everyone know what is definition of done? So when we complete the feature, we need to satisfy certain criteria in order to say done. And the criteria might vary from one company to another. Yesterday there was a talk about performance testing, and they placed performance testing as a part of this definition of done. So I think that it's a good idea to put security as a part of definition of done. So you will have, let's say, code reviewed, unit tests passed, automation tests written, regression suite completed, and then you can put this effort about security. Security functionality is verified. The only thing that you need to have repetitious checklist. So do not make it in an ad hoc manner, because then you might not be sure if you succeeded or not. So it has to be kind of documented somewhere. Yes, and in order to prevent the situations when someone forgot about this line in definition of done, you can put it as a, for example, a step in Jira workflow. Whenever you close the feature, the Jira will pop up you with this field. Is security verified? Yes, no, and then you got yes, I did, or no. then the fields that you can have in this dropdown might vary depending on what is the process. So now we approach the situation. So okay, cool, fine. Thanks for this information. Now I'm ready to go. What should I do? Same as when you come to the nice shops, to these boutiques, you have the personnel there. So, and then when they see the person wandering with the eyes round and not knowing what to take and where, they can come and say, "Hello, can I help you?" For this purpose, I think owasp.org works perfectly. What is OWASP? I think if you were on the previous talks, you know that OWASP is an open source web application kind of security project, which has lots of sub-projects inside, and they focus primarily on security. The good thing about OWASP is that it's free and it's built by people who are interested in security, and they constantly support the information there, depending on what is our reality. So one of the main things that you can pick up when you start the security is top 10 vulnerabilities. We will have a look at it in a moment. So there are vulnerabilities that happen all the time among all products, and if the breaches happen, they happen because of one of these vulnerabilities, and they are ordered. The second thing that is you can pick up there is a testing checklist, which you can use in your daily activities. So now that you think, okay, cool, I want to try it out on my application, but how? Who can tell me this? If you just start Googling, it might be a long path to get the right information. But this checklist makes it more structured. Then there is a thing called ASVS, Application Security Verification Standard. This is a standard that can be used more by developers. Even though it is also written in the testing checklist, it focuses more on standardization of this security thing. And sometimes companies, when they have some integration, let's say bank has some integration with insurance companies about payments, just an example. How can they talk to each other and say, how secure are they? They can use this framework. They can use this standard and say, we are this much secure. We will have a look on the ASVS in a moment. And the fourth thing that I strongly recommend to pick up from this resource, investigate it, is SAM, Software Assurance Maturity Model. The thing is that this maturity model shows you how your security initiative looks like in the company, not only in development, but also in governance. How do you work with the design? How do you work with specification, standardization, compliance, and etc. Also, it focuses on the ops part, operations. So it's kind of cool. So let's have a look in more details. So if you go to the top 10 on the owasp.org, you will probably see this PDF file. And you can see, well, you will see the order of the most common vulnerabilities being detected or exploited in the wild. And injection remains #1 for years. So it has, all the apps have been vulnerable to different types of injections, especially SQL, for all this time. And still, everyone, like humanity, didn't find a way to resist against this in a thorough and simple way. So if you design your tests, if you think about, okay, where should I start? This can be your #1. Try to check the injections. Then there is a broken authentication type of vulnerability, which is more like in security of the passwords, of guessable IDs, so like you can enumerate some information. Then there is other types, and I strongly encourage you to have a look at them, and you will get this nice overview. The second thing that I mentioned is a testing checklist. So if you Google for this checklist, there will be this fancy wiki page. Yeah, actually, owasp.org is not cool with this navigation. But if you go to this page and you scroll a little bit down, you will see lots of examples how to test for certain type of vulnerabilities. So I picked just input validation, but there is also authentication, session management, and others. And once you click on this type of testing, you will get a summary, some information, what is it about, so that you understand what you're doing. And lower on the page, you will have the black box testing approach. So, okay, cool, I want to do it. How? What should I do it? Because not many people have skills in scripting languages, so sometimes people want to just copy the JavaScript, insert it in the application, and see some magic happening. So this actually can help, at least at the first point. So ASVS. ASVS is a standard, as I mentioned, and it can be used as a metric. So you can assess yourself. They have 3 levels, level 1, level 2, level 3. What they claim is that level 1 should be for everyone, and then there is a certain list of requirements. Then they say that there is a level 2 and 3 for for applications with sensitive data. So if you investigate this wiki page with OWASP, you will see that there are also categories, and they're quite intersecting between checklists. So there is also input validation, session management, authentication, and others. And when you go there, you will see that this standard dictates what, well, it says what should be verified, but if you just follow these lines, it will tell you how to build the software in a secure way. So like verify all pages and resources are protected by server-side authentication, except those specifically intended to be public. So quite often developers leave some page, the debugging page for out in the wild, and then someone detects it, and yeah, not cool. So yeah, check out the ASVS. And SAM, yes, Software Assurance Maturity Model. So as I mentioned, it covers all major phases in the development, and they have recommendations per each of this area. This might be interesting not for actual penetration testers or security engineers. It might be more interesting for people who want to build a test plan or plan the activities or make some speak in a language to the management that doesn't understand technical stuff. So if you come and say we need to be HTTPS and the SSL should be TLS 1.2, they will be like, what we're talking about. But this is more readable. Not everything, but yeah, you can go there if you need this info. And yeah, this is one of the examples. So you can see the line, the security testing, they offer like 3 levels of maturity. And for level 1, they say that there should be a process, established process, doing some basic security and tests based on implementation, Then there is level 2, that security testing is happening during development in a more complete and efficient, thorough manner. And then there is a level 3 with more details, so it's getting more tight. So check it out. Of course, how can you improve your efficiency? By means of automated tools. So there are different types of tools. Burp Suite, it's a commercial product, but they have community edition, which is free. This is a tool built for dynamic application security testing. It stands as a proxy between your client and the server, and whenever you do some requests and you get responses, it analyzes the traffic and replies you back with some recommendations what should be fixed and how. Of course, there is a free alternative, Z-Attack Proxy, ZAP. It is available on the owasp.org. The only thing is that ZAP is built in a way that you need to know what you want. If you just install this tool without any understanding how to approach what, then it might be a bit tricky. And also, some people say, yeah, but also there is an app scan. Well, yeah, it will cost you like a million per user per minute. So they have kind of extreme pricing model, but they claim that they can detect any vulnerability with the lowest amount of false positives. Maybe, I don't, neither me nor our company have this much money. Maybe they are efficient. Normally, I would recommend going with Burp Suite. It's not like I'm advertising this product, but the thing is that they have a professional edition, which costs €350 per year per user, and they have a nice UI, which can normally easily interact with the user of the system, and yeah, you can get the benefits. SonarQube, strongly recommend you try this out. This is an open source, well, it's not open source, they have a free edition, but the product also, there is a commercial license there. It is built for static code analysis. So what do? Whenever you do build of your source code, there is a special DLL that is used to analyze the source code and represent vulnerabilities detected in this code on the UI. So the cool thing is the cheapest way to get overview of the security issues. It might require a few configuration, but I mean, it's really cool. The when you install the SonarQube, you need to add add-ons, different plugins, but they cover almost everything. There are plugins for different types of languages, also scripting languages, object-oriented languages. There is also a nice module called dependency checker, which can detect some components, third-party components, vulnerable to the from security point of view. Yeah. And it exists as a Docker container, so you can deploy it on your machine just like within 5 minutes, maybe 3, if you have a good connection. And yes, security testing, using security testing data when you design automated tests. So instead of placing John Doe, you can try insert script, alert script, and then see what happens. Of course, it's like, it might require some design thinking, test design, but checklists, check it out, it might help you with that. So the scanning setup with these automation tools. What do I mean? So we have a user who interacts with the server using by means of some browser, and he configures in the between some of these automation tools, either Zap or Burp Suite, and they analyze the traffic, right? So the cool thing here is that the tester or whoever is driving the application to the browser does not bother himself about security, and he will get the report, and then he can look on the report and say, yeah, everything is fine, or no, everything is bad. So this setup is kind of, yeah, nice, interesting, but What if we change, instead of a user, we put Selenium tests? Almost everyone, I guess, has some automation. Well, it can be Selenium, it can be other automation tool, it doesn't matter. The thing is that you have some automation to drive the traffic with an application. What is the main benefit here? You already have scenarios. You already have some data being sent back and forth. Now the only thing you need to do is to put so-called man in the middle. In this case, it's a Burp Suite, so it's a proxy. So you need to do some configurations in Selenium, in your CI tools, so that it knows that it should be sending the traffic through this tool. But now you have everything running from here. Be careful that if you have thousands of tests, you will probably break down these apps because they are in Java. They're just crushing. So this is like, yeah, nice, interesting. So yeah, we saved some time on the test design. But what if you add also it as a part of continuous integration? So you can run these tests not once or just make sure that someone remembers about this, but you can run them constantly. So after every build or whatever. So this kind of makes you like, this is interesting, right? Because we saved lots of money on this, well, time and then money. So as you build security testing, there will be definitely challenges along the way. And normal challenges is like when you start talking to your management, someone will say, yeah, but who would even hack us? I mean, people are nice, we are not known to the other people, or our site is so full of kittens and no one will attack us. Well, this is false. There is lots of wolves out in the wild and they want to attack this site just for the sake of it, just for pleasure. It doesn't mean that they want to blackmail or whatever, steal some data. They will just break the site, put the message Satan was here, ha ha ha, and walk away. Not cool if it's your site, like front page site, right? Then another thing that you can hear from people like, yeah, but we have firewall or HTTPS or Kaspersky installed on our computers or lots of other stuff, and this will protect us. Yeah, right, but that's not how security works. Firewall, of course, will protect you against certain type of attacks, but design flaws will never be detected using these. Another thing is that we have Michael, and he's responsible for security. Yeah, Michael is, can say guy who knows everything. Yeah, you're right, he knows everything, he knows a lot, he can save you. But this is a huge bottleneck. Especially if you have not 1 or 2 teams, but let's say 9 teams. Should Michael be going to every team and talk to every person? Like, it's just impossible. Or if Michael is on vacation, then, well, Michael is just an example. It can be John or Andy or whatever name you want. But the thing is that, yeah, this is a huge problem, bottleneck. Then when you say, okay, fine, I would become this expert in my company, but I don't have time for learning, because normally, these initiatives, when you put yourself into something new, it means that you're stepping out of the comfort zone and you're putting yourself into something new. And now you have to start over again. So now you need to learn what is the security, what are the techniques, checklists, OWASP.org, oh dear, lots of information. And it can be challenging. Also, you can hear from your the product owners like, yeah, security is technical. I don't know what you're talking about. Just do it in your technical backlog. And yes, we give you like 1 day per sprint to work on the technical backlog. It's not no-go for sure. And if at some point of time you still manage to persuade your product owner to focus on security, they try this trick with postponing this activity. Let's release now and do security later. And then 2 weeks later, you come to him and say, okay, we released, now let's do security. Yeah, right, but do you know how customer wants version 2? We need to finish version 2, and then I will give you a chance to build security. Trust me. And then the story repeats itself, so do not get into this. You know, there is a saying that book is a software update for your brain. So if you want to get this information not from just the blogs, but you like to read books, I would recommend to you the book called The Web Application Hacker's Handbook. It has lots of practical examples. It's technical, yes, but it's written in a very nice manner. So you don't have to be a developer in order to understand this. It is nice story, written, but technically focused. If you have spare time, if you're on vacation and you want to read some cool story about security testing professionals, you can try this Kingpin book. It's based on a real story about the guy, I think he's from Ukraine, about a hacker who was captured in FBI and by FBI, and he's now in prison for 13 years for stealing credit card information. So this book is based on a real story, but I mean it's written in a kind of science fiction way. And must see. These 2 things I would strongly recommend. Well, Pluralsight, everyone knows Pluralsight. This is a place with lots of educational materials. And Hack Yourself First, it's a nice workshop training built by Troy Hunt. This is a very known expert in security area. If you don't know him, check him out on Twitter or his blog posts. He has really cool stuff. So this course can help you with understanding like where to focus, where to start in general, what is security about. So if it's not about processes, if you want more technical parts. And second video, which I also like very much, is called Web Application Penetration Testing with Burp Suite. I just didn't put it, it just doesn't fit the screen. But the thing is that this is a workshop built by Sunnyware, a nice lady who explains how security works in a very calm way. So she focuses on Burp Suite tool, but the way she tells, she reveals you what is the security principles, how to detect stuff. Okay? Well, basically that's it what I want to tell you. Thank you for being patient.